All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. I want to do a quick update. You've seen the videos I've done. I'm not surprised by this at all. I know a lot of people are. If you've watched the videos I've had the last 2 weeks regarding the disqualification of Drew Gregory after his Lake Pickwick win and the protest or the protest by 10 anglers or so, kind of gone down the way I expected. I kind of broke it down in the videos from where my position was on this. I'm not surprised at all that Bass has overturned the disqualification based on the letter of the law. And again, this is where this stuff goes. We've seen this so many times, mates. This is not about, anything other than the letter of the law. Rules are a contract. I cannot stress this enough. And people just don't understand the legalities of a lot of these things, that when you put out a player's agreement, when you put out an angler agreement, when you make someone commit to following rules, you have to yourself enforce said rules. You cannot make stuff up as you go. This is why I have been so highly critical of organizations this year that have changed their rules midstream or not followed their rules, okay? It is nothing against the anglers that fish in these organizations. It has nothing to do with the anglers. It has to do with the organization that is being paid money for these anglers to fish in these events, that are fishing in these events with an expectation that rules are going to be applied the way they are written, okay, and applied equally to all anglers. It did not matter if this was Drew Gregory, who is the best kayaker in the United States right now, hands down, okay, undisputed in my opinion, okay, followed by a couple other guys like Russ and Ewing and Nolan and some of those other guys. They're right there. But just as far as it goes right now, I consider this guy, Drew Gregory, to be the top kayak bass angler in the nation. He could have been me. He could have been you. It shouldn't matter whether you've ever won an event before or if it was your first event. The rules have to apply to everyone equally. And it should not matter what Drew may or may not have done before Lake Pickwick. The rules have to be myopic to that event. It doesn't matter what the history of an angler is, okay? Or whatever, fishing creeks and all that stuff. So it's not surprising to me at all, mates. Basically says they have investigation and appeals process has been overturned. So a panel reviewed it. Now a separate individual independent panel. Not every organization, like I've said this year, and I've taken it on the chin. Trust me, I've gotten phone calls and letters, okay, about again, you cannot have people who have a self-interest in an outcome of a ruling be involved in the rules process and review. Okay, there are organizations that have muddied that up completely. It's absolutely embarrassing. It discredits the entire sport of kayak fishing. They know who they are, okay? And they do everyone a disservice, and people need to recognize that organizations that do that ought not be fished. They ought not be fished. You need to take your money elsewhere, okay? Bass legitimately had a panel of independent people not interested in whatever the outcome would be either way, simply just looking at the rules and evaluating them, how the rules are written, how they are applied, how they've been applied all year at all the other bass events, and whether or not the angler violated those rules. And like I said in previous videos, I do not think and did not think that Drew Gregory violated any of the stated written rules. Again, caveat, I have no idea what the intent was. Intent is a crazy thing. You've got to lay it out, okay? And so this is why this verdict does not surprise me. When I told you in the last video, taking over 2 weeks for this to come back, to me, screamed it was going to get reversed because it showed that there was a lot to go through, that it wasn't as simple as, what people were laying it out to be. And so Drew Gregory is going to get his win. He's going to get the Angler of the Year title, I believe, from Bassmaster. And it shows, based on photos submitted with protest, Gregory was initially disqualified from the tournament. However, Gregory presented video evidence to the appeals panel showing that the 12-mile route between the main body of Pickwick Lake and his fishing area was accessible. And that is where I said, mates, he was going to win because it was accessible. That's what it stated in the rules. Canals and creeks, continuous water. Okay? So Drew may have gone at video that day, or maybe he went back after he was disqualified and showed all the waypoints of exactly where his fish were caught via his metadata and via that it was actually to continuous water. And so that's how it goes down, mates. Okay. And if you have an issue or take issue with Bass's determination, you've got to be forceful in terms of having advocacy to change rules. If you don't like the way that rule was, you don't like the way that rule's written, you need to push on the organizations to make their rules a lot more clearer for everybody. I saw this as cut and dry the minute it happened, mates. You can go back and look at my videos, okay? Because, again, contract, rules, they matter. They're not just stuff that are like flimsy and you can make up and change whatever you want, or whatever. We don't really like this person, so let's apply the rule this way. Or we really like this person. He's like a pillar in the community, so we can't do that. We can't apply the rule to him the same way we can apply it to this new guy. No, that's not how it works, mates. That's not how it should work. And if it does work that way in your organization that you're part of or you're fishing in, get out, okay? Because you could be next. I mean, that's just the reality of it is. You've got to make sure that people, and 90%, 95% of the organizations and trails and series out there in fishing and in kayak fishing are legitimate and reputable and do the right thing and do their best, and all that. But we all know, we've seen the cases, we've seen it all. We all know these things happen. We all know that people, do what they do. But I'm glad that this is the turnout. Again, I'm not surprised at all. I know a lot of people are. You could check out Kayak Bass Nation tonight with Ryan Lambert and Jeff Mallett. They're going to talk about rules, I think, tonight with Hobie Pro, Jordan Marshall, and Jay Wallen, giving their takes on rules and such. And this is what you need. You need the community. You need the community, the podcasters, the content providers, the anglers, to push back on the organizations for better rules clarity. Standardize the rules for all of these major series so they're all the same, okay? Come to some standardization outside of whether or not a trail like a Hobie, because of the way they fish more rivers and shallow, skinny water, that they allow tethering or wade fishing. That could be an amendment to the rule for specific events like Susky and places like that. But other than that, standardize all the rules for the community, mates. I've been saying this all year long, and I think a lot of these controversies and a lot go away, and a lot of these organizations that want to do their own thing and just create stuff and ditch rules or make new rules or have rules up and take rules down when it's convenient for them so no one can see them and all of that stuff. Those organizations will die. They'll die. They'll wither on the vine. People will stop, and we won't have to worry about those guys anymore. And so that's where we stand. Drew Gregory wins Lake Pickwick, keeps the points, and wins, I believe, the AOI for Bassmaster for 2022. So he will be there along with a lot of other anglers at Chickamauga in late winter, early spring, I believe. Congratulations to Drew Gregory. I don't know what other to say to you, Drew, other than I had your back the whole time. I would have been extremely disappointed had Bass gone the other direction and uphold the disqualification based on the letter of the law and how I read it and what I would have done if I was in the same position. And then based on what we just saw at KBF with the people fishing that event that went 18 miles, 20 miles, well off the proper Kentucky lake. So kudos to that. Kudos to Bass, reputable organization. This is what reputable organizations do, is they have panels, independent. They make these determinations, and they grow the sport by having full transparency of process, and that can only benefit the sport going forward. All right, mates,